Hi, I am Rahila. My project is Pollination and Seed Dispersal Adaptations for Plant Reproduction.
Hi, my name is Rahila, and today my project is about pollination and seed dispersal adaptations for plant reproduction. This directly addresses our content point, which is examining and explaining how the characteristics of flowers, fruit, and seeds are adaptations for reproduction in plants. This working model shows a clear progression from pollination to fertilization, then to seed formation and seed dispersal. First, notice that a flower has both male and female parts. The anther male produces pollen grains. This is the male anther. It produces pollen grains. The stigma female is sticky to catch pollen and sits on the style, which leads down to the ovary that contains ovules. As you can see, the stigma in the female, it's very sticky to catch pollen and sits on the style, which leads down to the ovary that contains ovules. As the bee visits flower A, it brushes the anthers and picks up pollen. When it lands on flower B, the pollen sticks to the sticky stigma. This is called pollination. The transfer of pollen to the stigma usually happens between flowers of the same species. Many flowers have both male and female parts in the same bloom, but cross-pollination like this is common and increases genetic variation. After pollination, a pollen tube grows down to the style into the ovary. A sperm nucleus from the pollen joins with an egg cell in an ovulation, and that is called fertilization. Following fertilization, each ovule develops into a seed. Seeds have a special adaptation that helps them spread away from the parent plant, giving them more space, light, and nutrients to grow. My model highlights 3 different ways in which seeds get dispersed. We're talking about animal dispersal, wind dispersal, wind dispersal, and water dispersal. As you can see, I've demonstrated it in my model. Now, I'll show animal seed dispersal. This is a sheep, and this is our burr seed with tiny hooks, you can see. When the sheep brushes past the parent plant, the burr seed hooks catch on the wool. You can see it attached on the fleece of the sheep. As the sheep moves across the paddock, as you can see, across the paddock, the seed is carried away from the parent. Later, as the sheep rub on a post or the fleece shifts, the burr drops off here. That new location gives the seed space, light, and less competition. So it has a better chance to germinate. Let's talk about wind dispersal. This tissue parachute represents a dandelion seed. As you can see here, watch as the fan blows, just like the wind in nature. The parachute shape of the dandelion lets the seed float gently through the air. As you can see, the model is demonstrating. Here's the fan, and as the wind blows, it floats in the wind gently through the air away from the parent plant. By traveling on the wind, the seed can land in a new spot with more light, space, and nutrients, giving it a better chance to grow. Now let's talk about water dispersal. Some seeds, like coconuts, are adapted to float on water. Their outer coat is waterproof, so they don't sink. They don't sink in the water. Carried by rivers or even the sea, they can travel long distances before washing up on a new shore. Once they land on a soil, the seed can germinate and grow into a new plant. Floating gives them the chance to spread far beyond the plant. This demonstration shows how the structures of flowers, seeds, and the adaptations work together to ensure a successful reproduction in plants, from pollination to fertilization through to the dispersal of seeds into the new environment. The main trouble we faced was not only getting the fan to spin, but also turning it into a functioning moving model that matched the assignment criteria of having live moving parts. After attaching the fan to the foam board, we realized it was difficult to make it work smoothly and bring it to life. The solution to solve this, we poked a pin through the center of the fan, which passed through the straw attached to both the fan and the foam board. This simple adjustment gave the fan a 3D look, allowed it to move freely, and made the model feel more realistic and dynamic. I will be working with Year 6 students, and these outcomes and content descriptors frame both the learning and the making of my working model. In the Science for Sustainable Practice outcome, the model shows how plant structures support reproduction, such as pollen capture, ovules developing into seeds, and seed dispersal. I also link this understanding to sustainability, like protecting pollinators and planting native species, so students see how science connects to real-world action. For the design solutions outcome, students will complete the model as a classroom artifact. It will be scientifically accurate, interactive, safe, durable, and clearly communicate each adaptation, meeting the design criteria for stage 3. Finally, for the scientific communication outcome, students will use labeled diagrams and explanations alongside the model to describe the process from pollination to seed dispersal, using correct vocabulary to make the ideas explicit. Overall, this makes the structure, function, relationships clear and accessible at the stage 3 level. Before students build their working model, we focus on 3 key lessons. In lesson 1, students observe real flowers, fruits and seeds, then label diagrams to see how structures link to reproduction. In lesson 2, they design and trial their own solution, sketching ideas and testing one mechanism. Finally, in lesson 3, they practice scientific communication by creating labeled diagrams and short explanations to use in their video presentation. These steps give students the knowledge, design skills, and communication tools needed to successfully build and explain their model. This is how the top content will link to the key learning areas. In creative arts, students design a labeled cutaway artifact of a flower using different textures and materials to show how each part works. For example, textured paper for a sticky stigma or wire for the style. In English, students practice their writing by creating an explanatory paragraph. They can either compare pollination and seed dispersal or explain the cause and effect sequence from pollination through fertilization to seed formation and dispersal. This project connects to cross-curriculum priorities and general capabilities. For sustainability, students see how pollination and seed dispersal sustain plant populations, and they suggest action like planting natives. We also acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge of plants and seasonal indicators. In terms of general capabilities, students apply critical and creative thinking to design and refine their model, and they build personal and social skills by working in pairs with clear roles. They also develop ethical understanding by considering how we care for pollinators and plants, and intercultural understanding by valuing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives alongside scientific knowledge. For pedagogical strategies, I used explicit teaching with gradual release, modeling the science language before students practiced on the model. A compact 5E sequence guided the lesson. Quick explore with real flowers and seeds. Explain key terms. Elaborate by building using the model. Then evaluate with a brief check. I reinforced ideas through dual coding, diagrams plus physical actions. To keep this activity safe, student will use blunt tip scissors, seated, cutting away from the body. We pass them handle first, and I operate the hole punch. Second, the glue gun. We use a low temperature gun at a supervised station on a heat-proof mat. Cords stay clear, no one touches molten glue, and we press pieces together with a stick, not fingers. Finally, the pin. We pierce the foam board on a scrap surface, pushing the pin away from fingers, and as soon as it comes through, we cap the tip with a small piece of foam and prevent pokes.